If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. When it comes to movies in general, there's no genre that's on life support more than the modern comedy. So is Liam Neeson here to save the day somehow with this random legacy sequel? The answer is kind of yes, honestly. The Naked Gun is the fourth film in this comedy franchise of the same name, and it centers around Detective Frank Drebin Jr., who's following in the footsteps of his bumbling father and must solve a murder case to prevent his elite squadron within the police department from being shut down once and for all. So I like a good spoof and slapstick comedy as much as the next guy, but we just haven't really been getting very many of them recently. I grew up absolutely loving movies like Austin Powers, Young Frankenstein, and Monty Python and the Holy Grail. To this day, I still think those are the best examples of how genius the parody genre can be, but there's a lot of good stuff in the Naked Gun franchise, even if the first movie is without question the best of the bunch. Fast forward to the 2025 version, and in a world filled to the brim with legacy sequels and reboots resurrecting old beloved IP in order to make a quick buck, I assumed this new iteration of the Naked Gun was going to be nothing more than a cheap cash grab that I would probably forget ever existed before I even left the movie theater. And I'm happy to report that even though not every joke lands and it might take a second to get on its wavelength, I was wrong about this movie, and it's a comedy that's definitely worth investing your time into. When it comes to the story they decided to go with here, don't go walking into this one expecting the most original and creative plot you've ever witnessed or anything like that. There's a murder, conspiracy is in the air, police squad might get shut down. When it comes to the overall narrative, everything just exists as a bare-bone vehicle to make our lead character jump into action and begin his overly absurd quest for justice. There are definitely some ridiculous twists and side missions along the way, but for the most part, you're gonna be able to guess how the general flow of the story will turn out. And that's okay for a movie like this, since it's a parody film first and foremost. You're there for the references and quick-witted dialogue, not really for the Citizen Kane of parody movie plots, although that does sound kind of cool if I'm being honest, but the story does what it needs to set the table quickly and get us into the stuff we really came for to begin with. When it comes to the performances, Liam Neeson is carrying the torch after the first three films in this franchise were helmed by the late, great Leslie Nielsen, and I think he was a really good choice for a role like this. Obviously, over the last couple of decades, he's been kind of known for his more B action movie endeavors, where he's either rescuing his daughter overseas or identifying a killer on some mode of public transportation, but the guy's actually pretty funny whenever I've seen him pop up in a cameo role or in a random sketch. He's totally game to get down and dirty here, and I was honestly kind of surprised with some of the gags that he went along with. When it comes to his partner in crime, Pamela Anderson is out here matching his energy every step of the way. The two of them play off of each other pretty well, and they share some of the best moments of the entire movie when they're on screen together. You're never going to be able to look at a snowman the same way again, I'll just tell you that. Paul Walter Hauser is the most notable guy playing a side character here. He's thrown into a couple of funny scenarios as well, and the cast is definitely a bright spot when you look at the complete experience as a whole. Let's talk about the actual comedy involved in the movie, because that's the main selling point and should be the bread and butter of this entire project, right? Over the years, all of the jokes involved in comedy movies feel like they've become completely watered down, or they're stolen from some much better comedy film that came out before it. Luckily, that's not what happens here, and everything felt pretty fresh more often than not. There are an absolutely insane number of jokes jam-packed into this breezy little movie, a couple that I was shocked were able to make it into a PG-13 film. And just when you think you finally have a second to breathe, there's something absolutely ridiculous occurring somewhere on frame in the background. Now, obviously, not everything is going to work in here. That's kind of par for the course when they're throwing that quantity of jokes and gags at you for the entire 85-minute runtime. And yes, you heard that right. Short comedy movies are back on the menu, boys. But there are definitely more hits than misses if you're keeping track, while the barrage of one-liners and wordplay rains down on you from beginning to end. If you're familiar with the previous Naked Gun movies and also realize that Akiva Schaffer of The Lonely Island is directing this thing, you should have a pretty good idea of what to expect here. Overall, guys, The Naked Gun is a funny and entertaining addition to this comedy franchise. Liam Neeson absolutely throws himself into the absurdity of this role. The quality of the jokes is better than a lot of other recent comedies, and it definitely doesn't overstay its welcome. Not all of the gags land, and the story isn't all that complex, but we really don't get movies like this all that often anymore. So if you're a fan of this kind of stuff, you should definitely be going out to see it with a packed crowd, the way these types of movies were meant to be experienced. The Naked Gun gets a Sully score of 3.5 stars. So that's my review of the latest comedy movie. What's a recent comedy project you think is severely underrated? I think I have to go with Weird, the Al Yankovic story with Daniel Radcliffe, but let me know in the comments below what you think. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys at the next one.